At the Gateway for Cancer Research, our vision is to shape a world in which a cancer diagnosis is no longer feared. Over the last 20 years, Gateway has funded more than 120 clinical trials in many types of cancer, in hospitals and research institutions around the world. We partner with researchers whose focus is to improve treatment outcomes, find more effective yet less toxic treatments, and restore a patient's quality of life. Today, we honor and celebrate the men and women who have devoted their lives to finding a cure for cancer. Together, as we partner with leading researchers who share our sense of urgency, we are advancing the most promising cancer research studies that impact the lives of cancer patients today.
The cancer we are focusing on is glioma. The trial, which is now supported by the Gateway for Cancer Research, is a trial of therapeutic vaccines. In a few sentences, we are now convinced that our immune system is able to recognize and, in ideal situation, to destroy tumor cells. This clinical trial is a very crucial step for the further development of vaccine, not only Geneva, but around the world, because identifying glioma antigens and now doing the first trial will certainly expand the clinical development of all types of immunotherapy against brain tumors. As this could be the step that could, this hopefully in the future would be designed as very important for hopefully the success of immunotherapies in the treatment of brain tumor patients.
Breast cancer used to be the #1 killer of women, but now it's #2 to lung. But it's estimated that about 230,000 women will develop breast cancer this year. Every time a woman develops a cancer, or anybody develops a cancer, cells are released from the cancer into the circulation. One thing we know about breast cancer is that some of these cells go to the bone marrow. And what we've done is we've begun to molecularly characterize these cells to determine which cells go on to develop metastatic disease and which cells will never develop metastatic disease. And the reason why this is important is women usually do not die from their localized disease, they die from the disseminated disease or by developing metastatic disease. So if we can target these cells and kill them before they go on to form metastases, we'll increase overall life expectancy for women with breast cancer. A study like this would represent a paradigm shift in the treatment of women with breast cancer. So for example, you can take women and you can do surgery up front, give them adjuvant chemotherapy, and then say, okay, as far as we know, you're cancer-free, and then you just wait, and you wait for them to recur. And some of the women will recur, and some of the women will never recur. But ideally, what this test would do is it would provide a test for identifying those women who still harbor these cells and would benefit from additional therapy. And so I believe that by targeting these cells, we can save lives, and this is the essence of really treating cancer patients and increasing overall life expectancy.
Patients with glioblastoma typically survive an average of about 15 months. The goal of this clinical trial is to recognize that there are other ways to target these kinds of cancers. And we have developed a way using a small molecule to identify and target these cancer cells more or less exclusively. By targeting these cancer cells and inhibiting this receptor which sits on the surface of these particular cells, we can drive these cells to die selectively. Now we know that the effect on normal cells is limited to mild inhibition of growth, but it does not cause normal cells to die. My hope is that after 15 years of work, that we can finally demonstrate that targeting this particular receptor does result in effective treatment of brain cancers.
Lung cancer causes more deaths than almost any other malignancy. About 230,000 people every year are diagnosed with lung cancer. It's estimated that about 1 in 14 Americans will probably get lung cancer at some point in their lives. So there's a number of pieces of evidence that came to light from the clinic that informed us that estrogens indeed play an important role in the genesis of lung cancer. So our group at UCLA did experiments in vitro using cells in culture dishes, and we found that these tumor cells also made their own estrogen. They had an enzyme that's called aromatase, and this particular enzyme can produce estrogens in the lung and make these estrogens available to promote the growth of these lung cells. What we did then is we took this information and went back to the clinic and started looking at samples, biopsy material from patients who volunteered samples of their lung tissues. And we found that in human tissues from the clinic, we could also find estrogen receptors, and we found aromatase enzyme. So we went back from the clinic into the laboratory, and we started testing how we could stop this cycle, how we could break this circuit. Cells making estrogen, estrogen feeding back on the cells, causing them to grow and to spread. And then we took an aromatase inhibitor, one that's already FDA approved for use in breast cancer, and we added that to this model system, and we found that the aromatase inhibitor was also very effective in interfering with the growth of these cells, but it seemed to be even more effective than the platinum chemotherapy. And then we tried an experiment where we added both of the compounds together, the platinum chemotherapy in combination with the aromatase inhibitor. And then we saw something that we really hadn't expected. The tumors pretty much disappeared. And once we stopped the treatment, the tumors did not seem to recur in this model system. So this is where we are now. This is what has led us to initiating this trial, which is now being supported by funds from Gateway.
Well, the clinical trial that we're performing is for a cancer called osteosarcoma, which is the most common type of cancer of bone in children and adolescents. The primary aim of the clinical trial is to try to reduce particularly the kidney toxicity that can be caused by two of the common drugs that we use, called cisplatin and methotrexate. We are looking at another medication that now is used to treat excessive acid production in the stomach to try to prevent the cisplatin from being taken up by the cells in the kidney that are damaged. The nice thing about the way this drug works is that it doesn't prevent the uptake of the cisplatin into the cancer, so it only blocks the side effect without blocking the effect of the drug that we want to achieve on the cancer itself. This drug that we're using to block the kidney damage may also help to prevent the loss of hearing as a result of cisplatin as well. So we're really trying to prevent two pretty significant side effects that are caused by these two drugs. The goal of our treatment is not necessarily to prolong survival, but to cure them of the cancer, and that's certainly the case with osteosarcoma. Our goal is to allow patients who develop this cancer to live a full and normal life after they complete their treatment.
Every moment matters, and every dollar truly makes a difference in cancer research. Because of your generous donations, every day we are getting closer to finding a cure.
Without funding like this and sponsors, such as those of you who donate to Gateway for Cancer Research, we couldn't be conducting these trials.
Without funding from the Gateway for Cancer Research, we have not been able to initiate this very novel and creative phase 1 study.
For foundations like Gateway to completely support a trial like this, to provide support for all the resources, the personnel, the lab testing that's needed to conduct an intensive study like this is critical for us to develop new approaches and new treatments for these diseases, both in children and in adults.
In particular, we would like to thank all of the individuals, companies who have donated to Gateway in order to make our trial possible. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this. Thank you.
The Gateway for Cancer Research, funding innovative cancer research for treatments, cures, life.